Unboxing of a Rockwood cement mixer, 70 litres. You can get these for about 150 quid on eBay. Rockwood themselves and other vendors. So that's what it looks like when the box is opened. These are all the bits and bobs. So that'll be the opening. It's the other side of the main drum. It's the motor. Handle. Bits and bobs. Don't know what they're doing yet. The axle stands. Manual. And a bag of screws. Picture of the completed unit, which is always useful. Picture of the components, in case you think you've got anything missing. List of screws, fixings, and then a step-by-step assembly, again useful. Right, I'll let you know how I get on. These are all the nuts and bolts. So you need some spanners, some Phillips. I won't go through all the assembly because it'll be a bit tedious, but I'll show you a few snags. MBXSS, this obviously means M8 times 55. Okay, and the other thing is, that's, I don't know if you can see or not, but it's bent in, so that won't actually fit on there at the moment. So I need to pry it open a bit. So whether or not it's gotten dropped or something, I have no idea, but it's not insurmountable yet. One thing that I have found is useful is these bags contain the screws you need for certain assembly steps. So these are the two bolts that I need for the first bit, the M8 times 40 and the M8 times 55. So that helps. 12mm spanners for the 8mm bolts, and obviously if you've got a nut and a bolt, then you need two spanners. Next step is connect the wheels. So you've got this axle on the wheels, turn the frame over and attach the axle bracket with wheels in the same manner. Make sure all bolts and nuts are tightened. Again, it looks like you need, same as the other side, you want a 55 with the nut right the way through, and you want a 40 allowed a nut through there. Depends whether or not you put the wheels on first. It's I'll show you what to do. Okay, so you just put the wheel on, and you've got a hole through the axle. Let me turn the wheel so that you can see. Yeah. And through the hole, you put one of these Mills pins, and then you splay it, and presumably the caps go over the outside. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to put a bit of grease on as well. So I like to use silicone grease because it's less icky. Well, all grease is icky. This is silicone grease. Stuff actually smells nice. Well, you think, why grease it if the wheels already spin around? They do now. You wait until it's been stood outside in the rain for 5 years. So grease it. A long nose pliers, useful things for the Mills pins. Helps you bend them back on themselves. The other thing I wanted to say about silicone grease is it's less likely to affect the paintwork or attack the plastic wheels than ordinary grease. I must be about the world's most untidy worker, by the way. I almost lost one of those Mills pins and I'm tripping over everything. One of my weapons of choice is a big heavy rubber mallet for things which need persuading. This isn't so bad so far. We did buy a metal bunk bed, probably about 10 or 15 years ago now, and really did need to file things and hammer things to get things to go together. So if you put the bottom drum in, I've got this thing lying on its side at the moment, then you put this in. I've put a load of silicone grease because they're two steel components. Now this one, which is presumably the motor end, it doesn't go right in, you see, otherwise you won't line that hole up for the bolt. And this one I can see a problem, because if you see this distance from that shoulder to that hole is a lot less than that distance from the end of the steel base bit to that hole. So I'm not quite sure what to do with that. Right, I figured out what the problem is. It's me being stupid. That end goes to the stand end, and this end goes the wheel end. Okay, and I've also just realised another thing. If you actually put this bottom part of the drum upside down on the ground like that, it's going to make things an awful lot easier. Guess what? When you actually do it the right way around, the bolt holes line up. Whee! I actually forgot to put this rubber seal on. So I think if you lean the top part of the drum against something like a wall and then just push the screws through, you can kind of hold it in position. Right, next stage is putting these blades in. I haven't actually assembled the top half of the drum yet, because to be honest I'm not sure how these go in. Seems fairly clear. So what you got, one end is almost at right angles and this one's bent right over, so I'm thinking that goes towards the top half of the drum. Quite how it fits in I haven't discovered it. Right, I figured it out. You got two arrows, one for the bottom drum, one from the top drum. They line up. They make sure all the holes line up. I think there's about 6 holes. And then the angled end does indeed line up with the top. And it's this sort of orientation. You can see I've just about lined up the bottom one, and then the top one goes there. Okay. If you can see that. So it does mean graunching up the nuts slightly, but it's not cramping fingers. I'll show you once I've assembled. You've got these, he calls them leather washers between the drum and the blade, and you're supposed to have 4 of them. I only got 2. Now the idea is obviously to stop the water leaking out from the thing, so if you've only got 2, then obviously put them in the bottom. I actually found it easy to put the top half on. I've just got a couple of screws in to line it up. See the orientation of the bottom side of the blade, the orientation of the top side of the blade. Just a little tip with anything like this, don't get catching your fingers in between things. If you're wondering how to put the nut on that one, you rotate the drum. Right, the dome ones, M8s by 16, go on the top. See by the scratches that I got it wrong and put the hexagon ones on. And the little pack of dome ones do come with another pair of leather washers. Alright, getting this disc on is easy. It's just 2 bolts. Getting this handle on is fun. What you've got to do, I sort of like push the whole assembly right up against the wall, because you need to push at it. You need to push at this handle to get it in, and then what you want to do is you want to hook that lug, see it's coming through there, into one of the holes, top hole, and then pushing it so it doesn't come out again. You kind of lever it down on the spigot. You're leaving it on the spigot. You're not leaving it on the bolt because you haven't got the bolt in it. So you're leaving it on the spigot, and it kind of compresses this spring. So the spring goes up this handle, and then whichever way is the easiest, you've got to do that, hold it, and get this bloody bolt through, which is difficult. Getting it through one side is not so bad, but I find if I use a spanner on it and just sort of like turn it until it's through as far as I can, you can get it through. It's not too bad to get it through the other side, but getting it lined up with the other side of the handle is a bit difficult. And once you've actually lined it up, what I did was a little judicious use of one of these items, and it comes through. So anyway, let me tighten that up before it bloody handles or so. So the idea of this handle is you can actually tilt it. You lean the handle out, turn it, and let it go in one of the holes, depending on which orientation you want the drum. So the last bit is to get the motor assembly on. So the motor goes on with these two nuts, fits to this flange, which you've already put on, and this nut and bolt, which goes right the way through the frame. Right, when you put the motor on, you'll see that I've used grease as well. You can see it's not just a circle, there's a flat bit in there, and that lines up that bit on the side of this axle. So I'm turning the drum there, and there's a bolt, it goes through this hole. There's these two studs on the motor assembly, they need nuts on. A bolt and a nut, and two nuts that you need in a pack. There's this rubber bit which sticks out there, and that ends up going in this hole. I'm redoing this part of the video because I messed up the video, not the assembly. So I've taken it apart again to complete the video. Being a genius. You can get a cover for it. I'll put a link in the description.